Bitcoin and Ethereum are up 8% on this news that just came out about some more mainstream adoption stuff and, the fundamentals for Bitcoin getting even better. One of these pieces of news is that PayPal is going to allow you to spend your Bitcoin. And it's going to make it really seamless and easy for anyone with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, or Bitcoin Cash in their PayPal wallet to just use that to make purchases. Now, before, you could buy and sell your cryptos, and you could send crypto and receive it, but to actually make a transaction, you had to sell it and then use that cash to make your transaction. And PayPal's taken this and streamlined it, made it kind of automatic where you don't really have to do anything. You can just pay with your Bitcoin. And behind the scenes, PayPal will sell your Bitcoin and use that cash to make that transaction for you, making it a little easier for mass adoption, more people to accept crypto, and more people to use crypto every day. And this doesn't mean that the merchants are actually going to take Bitcoin as a form of payment, because behind the scenes, PayPal will just change your Bitcoin into dollars and then send those dollars to the merchant. Another small limit to this is you can only choose one crypto to spend. You can have you can have a bunch of Bitcoin and Ethereum, but you can't go and you can't pay half of your coffee with Bitcoin and the other half with Ethereum. The transactions all gotta be one crypto. So this kind of seems like big news, but I don't think it's really a big difference to the way things were going before. That, before you would just have to, sell your Bitcoin for dollars and spend your dollars. Now the only difference is that PayPal will do this automatically behind the scenes for you. And there's a downside to this too, because every time that you will make a purchase, you will create a taxable event, and all these transactions it's gonna be like selling a stock, and you're gonna need to figure out your cost basis for the Bitcoin and then determine if you need to pay capital gains tax on that, or you have a capital gains or a capital loss. What's the difference between the price that you bought the Bitcoin for and the price you sold the Bitcoin for? And if you make these little transactions every day, it's going to be a real big paper tax headache at the end of the year. PayPal should give you some sort of form at the end of the year to tell you how much Bitcoin that you received and that you sold. But still, if you are if you're consistently buying small bits of Bitcoin and then selling small bits of Bitcoin, that could really add a lot of trouble, a lot of headache to then your tax filing at the end of the year. Now, the other news that came out is regarding Bitcoin futures contracts. And before, we did have Bitcoin futures contracts, but each contract was worth 5 Bitcoin. And these were created way before Bitcoin was at $10,000. And so if Bitcoin's trading at $50,000, each Bitcoin futures contract is worth 5 Bitcoin. That means the notional value of the contract is worth $250,000. And that's a whole bunch of money to be spending on Bitcoin. They made it easier now, and they created micro Bitcoin futures. And each contract is going to be worth 0.1 of Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin is trading at $50,000 now, this micro contract will only be worth $5,000, making futures contracts on Bitcoin much more accessible to more and more investors. These contracts are going to be monthly, and they're going to have 6 months that you can go out, and then you can go out the next 2 Decembers. So the way they explained is, if it's January, you can sell contracts or buy contracts. You're going to have futures contracts available on January, February, March, April, May, and June. And then the next 2 Decembers, which would be the December of this year and then the December of next year for your like leaps and stuff like that. And they're going to expire on the last Friday of the month. And they're also going to be cash settled, which means you're not going to actually get Bitcoin delivered to you when this contract expires. It'll all just be settled out in the difference in cash. And the ticker for this will be MBT. Benefit of this is that a lot more people are going to be able to sell and buy options on the futures contracts, and more accessible for things like that. And then one downside to this is it could draw demand from physical Bitcoin and, draw it to paper Bitcoin, which is a derivative of actual Bitcoin. So it may not take Bitcoin off the market with people buying and selling the futures contracts of Bitcoin, of the micro contracts of Bitcoin. Out of the two bits of news, I think that the micro contracts are a bigger deal for Bitcoin overall, and making it more accessible for like institutional investors or medium-sized investors to play in, the futures market with Bitcoin. PayPal news, I don't really think it's even that great, because it's going to create these taxable events, and people that want to create adoption, they may just be spending their Bitcoin on their coffee and stuff like that on a daily basis, not knowing that it creates a taxable event every time they sell a little bit of this Bitcoin. And they'll treat it just like cash, but at the end of the year, they're going to have this big surprise headache. So these are just two more things that, build on the fundamentals of the Bitcoin bull case and price going to whatever it's going to go to someday. Maybe with all this news, all those people that say that Bitcoin is the future of money could be right, and Bitcoin could reach $500,000 a Bitcoin or $1 million a Bitcoin, or whatever they want to say. I think that's all I got for this video. If you learned something today, give me a like. I'd really appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And then I want you to go have a good day, all right? Justin out.